No, I know the feeling. So, well, we're going to jump right into this.
Yep.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we have a few signed in already, so we're going to get started with just a quick, interview conversation, very informal. We've always had great, I want to say, support groups and things like that, where we can just freely ask questions and, kind of get your perspective on things. So thank you so much. If
And
you don't mind just saying who you are and where you're from so everybody knows.
I'm Jodi Gregory. I'm a BCBA, and I am an owner operator of the Gregory Center for Applied Behavior Analysis. I work primarily with children with autism, and I've been doing that for almost 25 years, and I love every second of it.
Well, and I can say, as a parent to a child with autism, you're one of my first support group meeting presenters, and I've always valued everything that you've been able to help me with personally and professionally. My name is Lindsay Dragon, and I work at the Autism Center at Misericordia, and I also have a 6-year-old who is on the spectrum. So really, this whole thing that we're going to be talking about is all about this time of year where things can get a little crazy. How would you start to talk about parents about overstimulation and the holidays?
There are so many overstimulating things, not necessarily all sensory related, but a lot of them are crowds, noise, certain triggers specific to your child. There's kids who don't like certain Christmas songs or certain Christmas foods or shows on TV. So preparing ahead, planning based on what you learned last holiday and things that you've seen, that have happened on the day-to-day basis. Maybe you're in the stores and all of a sudden the store is different and your child has an issue. Remember that, take it into consideration and try to generalize it into, well, if my child hated the Christmas tree section of Walmart, then maybe we don't jump right into going to the Christmas tree farm as our first activity that we do as a family for Christmas. Take into consideration the what and the why. What bothers your child? And then try to figure out why it bothers them. Is it new? Are they afraid of it? Did they have a bad experience with it in the past? Once you're able to determine why your child doesn't like something, then you can build a strategy to teach them to either not just get over it, but learn to like certain things. And then learn, if your child has very specific limitations in regard to something, learn to respect your child's limitations on those things.
And I feel like that's a very important message to really hammer home, because what I've come across is, personally, one day my child is okay with something and then the next day he's just not okay with it. So we don't know if those certain things are going to continue or not. But planning on going to see the Christmas lights every year or going to cut down a tree every year, at what point my family and I have come to the conclusion that for Thanksgiving pre-COVID, we're just going to stay at home, because it was what was going to make it a positive experience for our entire family, including him. And I feel like a lot of kids end up getting left out, and you're going because we go here on this day every year and you're going to have a good time. So, right. I mean, I really think that learning to say no and tuning into what, your child needs is a very important skill that a lot of parents just don't even think is an option, because they've done it so long.
Right. Or they think it's giving up or giving in to your child, and they want to teach certain things, or maybe the family is expecting certain things. So it's pretty important to imagine, what if your child could speak eloquently on their own behalf, what would they say to you? If your child has a screaming meltdown whenever you play Christmas music, that's one thing. But if your child hears Christmas music and could say, Mom, I really don't like Christmas music because the harmony in the background is very antagonistic to my sensory issues, and I really prefer that I don't have to listen to that. You would be more likely to say, oh, well, we won't listen to those kind of Christmas songs. We might listen to something different. We might watch Christmas movies and turn the volume down low, or maybe provide you with headphones so that you can be part of it, but not have to really listen. So try to imagine what your child is trying to tell you by having behaviors, if they have behaviors. Try to imagine what you can do, because you don't want to force your child to do something that's really gonna be harmful to them in the long run and cause a traumatic experience. I think the best bet is to figure out what, as a family, as your immediate family, what are the big things? What are the most important traditions that are really, really super important that you don't want to change at all? And then figure out what parts will your child on the spectrum be willing to participate in? What part might they really enjoy? What part can they really excel at that could be their special part? And then figure out what ways other activities could be modified. So maybe, yes, we want to keep the tradition of baking cookies for a full 8-hour Saturday, but we know that our child can't handle that. So we're willing to modify it and maybe do 2 hours of cookie baking on Saturday and then 2 hours on Sunday, and do the rest while they're, at grandma's house, or, watching a video and they don't have to participate. Because sometimes we look to get our own enjoyment by seeing our child's enjoyment, but if it really is bothersome to them, it's not worth it for us to really push the issue.
For the last 10 years that my husband and I have been together, we've done a gingerbread house on Christmas Eve every night. Well, we realized last year that was going to be the absolute last year that we tried to do a gingerbread house on Christmas Eve, because, he's a postal worker. He doesn't get home until all those presents get delivered, so we're putting that together pretty late after all the stimulus of the whole month, late at night. Oh my goodness, it's a nightmare. So I saw at, Weiss, the mini gingerbread houses for like $3. So I got 2 of them. I put them out there. They both saw them. We want to do those. We're going to make it a fantastic event. And that tradition that we had, it was a tradition for us then. It's not a tradition for us now. And I think that, you always say change is hard for kids with autism. Well, change is just as hard for many adults. So you got to be able to be flexible. If you're expecting them to change and, work on it, we have to work on it ourselves. And I don't think a lot of people realize how much they're forcing their kids to do.
Right. And then that was something that you modified. You're still going to do the gingerbread houses, but you're going to do it on your children's terms or for your own sanity on a different time or place.
Right.
If there was an activity like that even if it wasn't about changing the time of the tradition, if it was just that, your child's not interested in making a gingerbread house and you really wanted to do that with them, and it was something you could do on any random day, I would say to pick something that they like about it. Find something that your child likes. If your child likes to eat icing, if they like little mini M&Ms, if they like to watch a Christmas video about making gingerbread houses, that could be their part. The rest of you can sit around and do your gingerbread house, and he could mix the icing and taste test the icing, or put a little bit of the icing on, or stick some M&Ms onto it, or just be present doing his own thing and parallel experiencing, because you don't know what your child is feeling about it. Maybe being present while you make a gingerbread house is more valuable to him than being made to participate in it. So that's an option too, considering what memory is your child making about that. It was fun. Mom wasn't pushing me to stick M&Ms on it. I didn't have to do a task related to it. I just got to be there and it was really fun. And then I got to eat some stuff off of it, or watch my family laugh and have fun. And that could be enough.
Yeah. I really think it's funny to see how competitive we can be as individuals. Like, we're going to make the best gingerbread house ever. And, what the ultimate goal is to really just spend quality time together as a group, with including everybody.
Right. And the holidays make everyone crazy. I have typically developing children, and it's a mystery why every year I thought that I was going to dress them nicely and get a beautiful picture of them all together. So it's the same thing. If your child doesn't want to sit for pictures and you know you're going to a large family event, and every year after dinner, grandma says, everybody get together and we're going to do a family picture. Well, first of all, you have to have a reinforcer prepared, some kind of item that you could be like, first we're going to come here and let me stand by me and we're going to do this thing. And maybe make sure that you and your child hop into the picture last, get everybody set up, make sure the camera's ready. And then you guys hop in last, take two, and then get out. And if there's a good one, there's a good one. If there's not a good one, that's the Christmas where you didn't get a good picture.
Because I think the funny pictures are better anyway.
Well, right. That's the whole purpose. It's just to capture the moment. And all the funny ones are the moments.
Right. Yeah. Well, speaking of other family members, personally, I know my son does not like his grandmother's perfume. So she quickly stopped wearing it. Now she has worn Escape. I'm talking for about, 30, 40 years. So she doesn't wear it when she's around him if she wants a hug or anything to do with him, because he won't go near her. And I don't think that people can sometimes identify those triggers of things that are setting kids off. I have an apple cinnamon candle, and when I light it, he loves it. But when I light a vanilla candle, he doesn't like that, but he can't tell me that. I just kind of was doing my own little experiment. But think of all the things that are out there. It's just for the holidays, So how would, say, my mom, she was very willing to change her routine and she chose not to wear that perfume. But say she wasn't too keen on it, or you didn't want to offend somebody by saying your very large dog or your very small dog that's very loud might be the reason why we're not coming over.
Right. I found that the best way to explain things to people, because a lot of people have the mentality that it's a behavior because your child is spoiled and that you didn't take the time to try to teach your child that. And we know that's not the case. We know, first of all, that kids on the spectrum are the hardest working kids out there. They're doing, 20 to 40 hours of therapy a week. Their parents are working as parents and therapists and trying to figure out everything and smooth things over with family members. So I found that the best way to handle it is to throw in some technical terms so that you sound smart, right? You want to say, like, this is from a doctor. Someone important told me this. This is factual. Throw in something technical, add the explanation to bring it to life, and then give some compliments in there. So for example, for the grandma with the perfume, it might be, well, I'm not sure if you knew this, but my son has, along with being diagnosed with autism, one of the symptoms is that he has sensory issues, and he engages in escape avoidant behaviors when encountering sensory stimulation. And what that looks like is if he smells something he doesn't like, or something that smells really good to all of us, because there's a lot of things that smell really good to all of us, but if he smells something, something reacts in his brain that makes it so that he feels that need to escape. And because he doesn't have the language, he doesn't have any way to tell us tactfully. And, one of the things is perfume. And I know you wear Escape perfume, but I was at the store, and when my son smelled that perfume, he engaged in severe problem behavior. So I'm hopeful that when we see you next time, we don't have problem behavior because of the perfume, because it smells so good on you. But for him, it really is painful. And, wrap it all up in a nice little bow and just explain. And obviously, not everyone deserves that kind of explanation. That's for someone that doesn't hurt you, that you want to not hurt, that you want things to go smoothly. And your goal was that your mom would not wear that in front of him because you want her to spend time with him. Right. And thankfully it was easy. But there are other relatives who might take it as an insult. It might be the same to them hearing that, oh, your perfume smells coming from you. Right. So you have to come up with a way to kind of throw some compliments out there. And I've noticed a lot of kids have trouble because sometimes like their grandmas or their aunts or relatives babysit them regularly and they're used to seeing them all the time, but then the holidays come and blam, the grandma has on makeup and big earrings and, you know, Aunt so-and-so is wearing fancy clothes, or and the kids can't keep their hands off of it. And they, you know, sometimes that's an issue that people don't realize could happen. And
Yeah.
there has to be a way to plan for all of those things based on experiences, and then every year plan for a new surprise.
Right.
What's it going to be this year? What's going to happen this year? And then be ready to, instead of accepting it as awful, accept it as, okay, this is the new thing. This is what we have to work on. And now we have a month until Christmas. We have, I think, 23 days till Christmas now.
Yeah.
Pick something that is important to you. Pick something that you don't really like that you can't do because your child has trouble with, and maybe systematically introduce it throughout the year with high valued reinforcers. And by Christmas, it might not be an issue anymore. Our kids learn so much, so they really
Yeah.
can. If we pick something, we're doing that at our center-based programs for the month of December. We're finding the hardest thing that parents have to deal with related to Christmas, and we're trying to work on it so that maybe when it actually comes around, it's not going to be the big problem this year. We're teaching weight. We're teaching, you know, just basically how to request termination of an aversive activity. Can I have a break? Things like that. For kids who aren't quite at that level, teaching, you know, just like simple hand gestures of wait, like, yeah, we know you don't like grandma's perfume. It's going to be over. 1, 2, 3. Okay, come on, time to go. And we're going to remove them from that situation, trying to figure out what to do and to give the family some joy of Christmas, teaching the kids like
Right.
why it's fun to open presents and why it's fun to dig in a stocking and look for, you know, what's in there. So these are all teachable skills if you take the time ahead and work toward them a little bit every day.
Yeah. It's been fantastic having our second child, who's 4, teach his older brother, you know, kind of the joys of some of these events. And he'll model what we're doing with Jackson. And so it's neat to see a 4-year-old therapist sometimes. It's very interesting. But this is our first year that we are going to get to enjoy the Christmas experience with both kids. And it's a lot to do with the fact that they're interacting together during, you know, decorating the tree. And our neighbors put up a lot of those blow up inflatables. But that caused some issues. He instantly ran right across the road to go see them up close. And so we not only have to lock the door, but we have to lock the chain at the very, very top that we had to put on there because he'll just open the door and run out. So it's a great thing. And now we took what he was going to do and we turned it into, this is how we do it. But unfortunately, you don't know. I'm starting to get hives thinking about him eloping. But you don't know what's going to be this year because he didn't do that last year. So we've had one of those already, which was just bolting, you know, to go see their inflatables. So now we open up the curtain. Are they awake yet? You know, and we don't go touch them. But it really is fascinating to see how much the kids can change over a year time. And maybe all those holidays in between, you know, if you just stick with the same model for every month, it would desensitize it.
Yeah. I saw a lot of kids doing trunk or treat this year at Halloween, and the families were so happy because maybe they couldn't take their kids trick or treating door to door, but trunk or treat was a whole new ballgame because it was a drive-through this year. And I saw some families whose kids weren't necessarily super excited to be there, but the parents were so happy because they got to do something and with all their kids together, and there were no problem behaviors. So maybe coming up with an alternative method of some of those things, coming up with maybe you take a video of the inflatables going up and going down at the end of the night and let him watch the videos so that he can have that when he knows that he can't go over and access them. Different things like coming up with different spins on things to take it outside of the box, just like we've had to do now. We've done all kinds of crazy different things that we would have never thought of. Yeah.
And I try to tell people, I mean, yes, I'm absolutely 1000% very upset that COVID ever, happened. But with the amount of what we're doing right now, in the drive-through trunk or treats and all the webinars, the trainings, and the networkings that we're able to do, it really is amazing. Now, we've also found a way to social distance, even doing these. You block your video, you mute yourself so you're there, but are you really there? Well, and speaking of that, this would be a great time. If anybody has any questions, you should go ahead and put them in the chat box on the side screen here. If you had any situations over Thanksgiving that you thought, you could have maybe handled better, we'd definitely love to hear that. But the positives, if you had to pick something positive to come out of COVID, it was definitely Zoom and all the, changing of things, because the trunk or treat was amazing. I saw parents in tears too. And it really was a beautiful thing to see and say, why haven't we done this before?
Right.
It's exciting.
It was. I thought it was great. In terms
well, wait
of
a second. You won best trunk, didn't you?
I sure did.
That was a really cool
trunk. Because I thought, what do the kids like? What are these kids who are going to be strapped in their car seats in the back of the cars? What are they going to look at? Are they going to look at different things that are cool and Halloween related? Or are they going to look at what their most familiar items are? And we know a lot of the kids love those Baby Shark videos. So I thought, well, that would be a good thing. That would make them feel like comfortable and encourage them to be engaged and to actively look at stuff. So that's how it worked out.
Yeah, they loved it. So
in terms of desensitizing, I don't have a panel on this side. Do we have questions or no?
Right now we do not have any questions at the moment, but I see that somebody is typing, so we'll give that a moment.
Okay. So in terms of desensitizing, if you could identify what might bother your child, a way to do that is to take the smallest amount of that. So give me an example. We can use the perfume example. We can say, okay, well, we'll get that perfume and we'll hold it so far away from a little piece of paper and we'll spray it on there. And then we'll get my child's favorite video playing and we'll get a favorite toy and we'll say, okay, here, and we'll kind of like waft it around so it's there and it's in the air while they're doing it, and do that over a period of time so they get familiar, and then get them make it stronger and stronger, and then maybe put it on yourself and get it closer, so that if you see, as soon as you see the response of them not liking it, you could say, oh, that's perfume, look, and you can spray it and you can explain it, and they will already have tolerated a slight amount of it. So maybe you build up tolerance and just teach that, no thanks, or I don't like that response, and go from there, just to give them some exposure. Maybe they'll like it eventually and won't even notice it because it won't be so assaulting. But then there's the option that we can teach them, okay, he really is not into this at all. It's no good. Let's teach okay, first you tolerate this for 3 seconds because hugging grandma is super important and I can't tell her about the perfume, but you just do 3 seconds and then you're out. And then, so there are plans there are ways to do all of those things.
Absolutely. The question that just came in was, let me see, what does she shorten that? How to involve your child more during the holidays when they are not interested at all with any of it. So
I would say look at your child's skill set. What does your child know how to do well? What do they successfully do? And what parts of any of the Christmas activities does it relate to? So if your child is super good at matching, and they match and they like to scan fields of items and look at pictures and things like that, maybe you make a photo album of different Christmas activities that they could familiarize themselves with throughout the year. And then when they encounter those activities, it won't be as new. Or you can take an activity that if your child's really good at matching and scanning and things like that, and you're doing an activity where you're building a gingerbread house, you can point to certain items on the box of the you can let your child be present with their own activities that they're doing that they enjoy. If they like Legos, you bring Legos to the table and they play with Legos. You build your gingerbread house, but from time to time, to get them engaged, you can hold up the box and point and say, look, the windows, can you give me the whatever picture, like if they're using licorice to make a window, you can say, look, and put your hand out, and they can find the licorice on the table and hand it to you, and you can reinforce for that. And that way he's engaging and participating. Or if there are certain Christmas movies, you can print out different, if your child's non-vocal and can't communicate, you can print out some different pictures of different Christmas movies and let them choose. Any activity, find something your child can do and excels at, and then make them only participate at their comfort level. And also pair it with reinforcement. So maybe you do an activity like that while watching a preferred video, or while listening to preferred music, or being in a preferred chair or in a preferred location, because those are the things that will get your child familiar with those items and make them comfortable with them. And then maybe they just don't like some of it. Maybe they're not interested, but figure out a way to put stuff that they like into it. If they like little Lego men, maybe dress up the little Lego men in Santa hat and make a little Lego tree and give them a Lego Christmas land, so that when he sees your living room dressed up as Christmas, he can have some point of reference and relate it to something preferred.
Nice. There's one more almost statement. My child tends to rule the roost, as in he doesn't allow things to be on, like the TV or Christmas music. So how would you go about a child or an individual who is basically in charge, it sounds?
Right. So I would use those ABA skills of manipulating the antecedent, presenting the demand, and then providing high levels of reinforcement. So if your child won't let you put a Christmas movie on, but really likes to watch certain other shows, maybe you put on the show that he likes, put on a Christmas movie on another, change the channel to a Christmas movie. And then you can use the last button on your remote to take you right back to where you were, and systematically increase and provide high levels of reinforcement. So here's the movie you like. You want to watch Toy Story. So we're going to put on Toy Story for a minute, and then we're going to pause. And now I have bubbles, and I'm going to blow bubbles while I put on The Grinch for 30 seconds. And we're going to set a timer, and he's going to see that as soon as the timer is done, we're going to go back, and now we're watching Toy Story again, and shape up that behavior of like really fun, exciting, reinforcing things happen while this Grinch movie is on. Mommy's happy, there's bubbles, we have snacks, but then all that stuff goes away, and now we're back to Toy Story for a minute, and it's just Toy Story. Then we pause it and we go back to the Grinch, and all these fun things come out, and it's fun again. And that's how you condition new reinforcers. Wonderful. By pairing them with other valued reinforcers.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you. We'll give another moment. If anybody has any more questions, we will let that happen. But while we're waiting, I wanted to thank you for talking about this. You gave me my first seminar on overstimulation, and it doesn't matter how many times you hear some of the same things, you kind of fall back into a routine of what you're comfortable with as an adult, and it definitely it's hard to change. We did just get another question though. What is the best way to begin to introduce the why we want them to participate in an activity?
So to explain to your child why you want them to participate, I would take something that your child is familiar with. Like if they know happy, if they know emotions, if they know, if your child knows happy, you can say, Christmas makes mommy happy. Or if they don't know emotions and they know what they really like, if they really like Toy Story, you could say like, you like Toy Story, mommy likes Christmas, and pair it with reinforcement. It depends on your child's level, quite honestly. If your child has that comprehension ability, you can just basically explain that it's a certain time of the year where people like to do certain things. You can explain it as routine, just like you like to put on your pajamas, then brush your teeth, then get your puppy, then go in bed. Mommy likes to have Thanksgiving, then Christmas time, then New Year's. You can kind of set it up however your child would understand it. If they understand calendars, maybe just put certain things on the calendars, and most of the days are filled in with their things that they like. And then some days are filled in with the things that you want for Christmas, but with a high value reinforcer for them. Because why someone finds Christmas to be important does not necessarily mean that's why your child is going to think it's important. My children who could understand what I'm saying to them, they understand that they need to put their ornaments that they made for me when they were little, they need to put them on the tree, and I need to watch them. That's how it has to be, because it makes me happy. And I give you all these things and do all these things for you that make you happy. So this is what makes me happy. Just do it. But if they didn't understand that, I would have to come up with another way to explain, whether it's, every time they do something that's related to Christmas, I provide reinforcement, or whether, they earn something that they really want by doing it as a task. If it's that important to you, you can treat it as a demand, the same as going to take your shower, or I want you to empty the dishwasher. I want you to put the lights on the tree, or I want you to hang 5 ornaments. It could be a demand as long as you provide high level reinforcement after and be prepared to keep the demand on as you would any other demand.
That's awesome. And Haley, if you have any, feedback to that, definitely let us know. It's, we set up our list for the day, so we have a visual schedule. And, if you want to provide choices, provide the choices of the things, right, that you would, you can either put the lights on or you can put on the garland. Which one do you want to do? But you're doing one or the other. And
Right.
This year was the first year they wanted to help me, and I was not prepared to relinquish the Christmas ornaments. But then after I, adjusted, it was perfectly fine and of course adorable. And I thought I was going to change it, but I didn't. So it's very decorated along the bottom, and I filled in the top. But it'll be interesting to see how it develops over the month, because it is only the 2nd today.
Right.
So, but this is plenty of time for everybody to start working those things in. And perfect timing, right?
Yeah, there are plenty of days, like between now and Christmas, you could teach multiple skills. Pick a specific target and practice it multiple times per day, just like you would anything else. And stick with it, encourage appropriate behavior, and also try to figure out what your child likes. If your child's rewinding a video over and over and over and over again on the same part, there's something about that part they like. What is it? Is it the song? Is it the flashing screen? Is it the character? Figure out what it is. Same thing with Christmas.
Be careful with Home Alone, though. I'm telling you what, he loves that movie. And I'm like, if you start throwing bricks off the top of a building at people's faces, we're going to have an issue here.
Yeah, you have to watch out for those booby traps.
Yes. And so be careful. I don't even know. A social story will be coming soon.
Right, exactly.
And that's a good way to do it too. So using a social story to prepare them.
Definitely, right? Definitely. Figure out what they like about it. If they keep touching the tree all the time, maybe get them a little tiny tree that they're allowed to touch. And
Charlie Brown trees never hurt anybody.
Right. Figure out, some people don't want their trees touched, get them their own. If you can't teach them not to touch the tree, maybe that's the only thing your child might like about Christmas is feeling the tree branches. So why take that away if it's not harming anyone?
Right.
Yeah.
And my husband wanted to tie the tree to the wall, but I'm like, well, how are you going to do that? Because we moved it. We usually have it by the staircase, so it's easy to tie it around there. So we're winging it this year. We're going to see what happens. We put all the very nice ornaments, elsewhere, with expecting it to be, toppled over, because where he goes to that window to look at those inflatables, he's going to knock that tree over because he's flapping. He's going to take off, So it's definitely trial and error, seeing where he's at, how far he's come, and we won't know until we put that tree up and see. And so we'll see what happens. But I think that is just a wonderful amount of information and helpful for myself. And Haley says, thank you so much. That was very helpful for her as well. And all of our approaches will be better after, speaking with you. And this will be recorded. And so we'll be able to share it on YouTube and anybody can watch it at any time. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I don't. Just good luck and hang in there. And everybody cries at Christmas, so
Everybody's too tired and too full to cry at Thanksgiving.
right. It's
So,
all
yeah. So Christmas, it can be happy tears regardless, right?
right.
So, all right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today. And if anybody has any questions, they can always email us at autism@misericordia.edu, and I can always forward those to you as well, Jodi. And if anybody wanted to contact you, how would they do that?
They could email me at jgregory@thegregorycenter.com.
Okay. Well, great. Well, thank you so much. And if I don't talk to you again before the holiday break, have a wonderful Christmas and Happy New Year.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.